This is a copy of today's, the front page of today's Young Yuri. I think a lot of people's reaction to this will be, well, the wily old fox has escaped again, although they might use stronger words than the fox. He has been, of course, Ozawa has been chased by the public prosecutors now for almost 3 years, and he was declared not guilty today. We were discussing Ozawa in the ante-room beforehand, and there was disagreement over whether he was an old-fashioned crook, a purveyor of money politics, or if he was in fact a revolutionary who was being taken down by a combination of the public prosecutor's office and the media. And I think those differences will come out today. That's sort of, I suppose, where the line falls in Ozawa. We have two highly qualified people today to discuss him. First of all, over here on my right is Gerald Curtis. He's the professor of political science at Columbia University. And over there in the middle is Koichi Nakano, very well-known face, of course, in Japan, regular on British media as well, political scientist at Sophia University. And I have the best of your attention, please. They're going to talk for about 10 or 15 minutes each. I think Koichi is going to go first. Make sure, please, you have your mobile phones turned off first.
Thank you for the kind introduction. It's my pleasure to be back in FCCJ. I was teaching actually from 11 to 12:30, so I'm not quite sure whether I really have everything sorted out. I just heard the news about the verdict and then started teaching, and I'm here, so I'll try to formulate my own mind as I speak. So you have to excuse me for that. Ozawa, as David mentioned, is a very controversial figure, a divisive figure, and he's been that way for quite a long time right now. As you know, he started in the very heart, well, his first rise to prominence was in the heart of the LDP, as probably the youngest ever chairman of the party in the late 1980s, and he was a kingmaker already at the time. But then, you know, the subsequent series of events took him into different new parties, sometimes in government, but more often outside of them. And here we are. So I guess you're talking about the politician with a remarkable longevity, who has never really reached to the very top, the premiership, but who's been in the front stage of Japanese politics over the past couple of decades. So I think that's really a sign of his charisma. I'm not sure whether that's the right word, but and also his, I guess, talent as a politician. But at the same time, I think he's a complex figure. And if I were to say honestly what I think of him, I don't particularly like him. But whether I would qualify him just as a crook, probably not. He's probably quite corrupt, but not as corrupt as he's made out to be, maybe, or not disproportionately corrupt compared to other standards. So the fact that he was singled out and he had to go through such difficult times recently is something that I look at with, I wouldn't say sympathy, but I would look at that as something that was unfair to him and to Japanese democracy. And I'll try to unpack this complex figure in the brief time that I have. And I think the best way really is to start to do so is by looking back at the 1980s, late 1980s and 1990s, when Ozawa first became a household name. And that's really to do with this drive for, I don't know how many of you were in Japan from that time, but in the late 1980s, there was a sort of a mounting call for political reform. Seiji Kaikaku, political reform, was the buzzword of the time, and it's the first of the series of reforms that were sort of occupying the headlines in Japan in subsequent years and in fact decades. From political reform, we moved to administrative reform, and we moved to structural reform, and now we're talking about tax and social security reform, and so the first round of it was about political reform. And